What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you guys tuning in for another video. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe. You know, we're really trying to grow the channel. We're pumping out 3 videos a week right now, and don't want you guys to miss out on any great content. I feel like it's good stuff. I mean, you can go back and check everything out on the channel if you haven't already. I feel like it's all good educational bass fishing stuff, but right now I'm rigging up a couple different drop shots, and I wanted to walk you through a couple different situations. So we're smallmouth fishing with a drop shot. You really got 2 options. You got more of your straight shank drop shot hook where you're threading your bait on, or you got your nose hook style drop shot like we have rigged up right here. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the situations and the baits that I like to use for each. You know, it's really a totally different action using these 2 different hooks, and you know, it's kind of very opinionated. A lot of guys tell you this is the only hook you need. Other guys will say that's the only hook you need. So really you got to kind of see what works best for you, but I'm going to walk you through my opinion on this whole thing and just kind of walk you through the whole setup. So if you guys are ready, I'm going to get this drop shot rigged up, and then we'll talk all about it. Well, it's no secret the drop shot catches fish, you know, anywhere in the country, but especially up north, you know, like the summer months here. We're up in New York for the summer, and a drop shot is a killer bait. I guess it's not a bait, it's a killer technique. You know, just having that bait suspended off the bottom a little bit is just a straight fish catcher. It drives the fish crazy, and they absolutely can't stand it. But choosing the right hook is always somewhat of an issue. So right here, you know, I just rigged up this guy. This is the Trokar TK180. This is the 1/0 size, so this is the smallest TK180 that they make. You know, you always want to rig it up and then run your line back through the eye so it stands up perfectly well like that. But the TK180 is a great hook. I use this hook a lot of times whenever I'm, you know, targeting largemouth. Pretty much exclusively if I'm targeting largemouth with a drop shot, you know, putting a worm on there, you know, a longer 5, 6, 7 inch worm, I'm always going with that hook right there. But whenever I get up into smallmouth country, you know, I kind of alternate between this hook and then the TK150 or the TK150 VP, you know, is new for this year. Okay, I'm gonna add my little epic tungsten drop shot weight here. And then we're gonna get into rigging. So for this demonstration, I'm gonna use the same bait. I mean, it's a bait you guys know that I love and use all over the country. But I'm gonna show, I get questions about this all the time. You know, you get guys that say you should only thread your bait on the hook, or you should only nose hook. And I'm going to take the same bait here and rig it up on these 2 different drop shots. So I just rigged the one with the TK180. This one's rigged up with the TK150 Trokar drop shot hook right there. That's just, you know, your standard nose hook style drop shot. So I'm going to take him and nose hook him. It's a little off-centered. I always like everything to be perfectly straight. So you got him rigged up just like that. So that's one option. And then you can also take him like this and just thread him straight down the back. Like that. And see, now you got the same bait and a different hook. So it looks pretty, I mean, I guess it doesn't really look that similar because you got a big hook hanging out of this one. So there's a couple different situations where I like to do this. You know, which one should we start with? Let's just start with this one. I got it in my hand. So like I said, this is the TK180. This is, you know, your straight shank drop shot hook, and you're threading it on here. So typically for me, this is my opinion on this. This bait right here, this smaller, you know, the mid-size shad-shaped worm, it's the 3.75 inch if you guys are looking at the website. I do not like to use this hook. I don't like to thread it on here. I only like to thread it when I'm using bigger baits, you know, 4, 5, 6 inch baits. You know, throwing a big drop shot, the 5-inch shad-shaped worm, I like to thread on there. We got some company?
Yeah, Ricky.
We got some company. So that's when I like to use this hook, is for those bigger baits. You know, it gives it a different action. So if you dropped this guy right here in the water next to this guy, it is going to have a totally different action, because this, you know, this bigger hook is going to kind of overpower this small little bait. But if you know, for this smaller shad-shaped worm, I typically lean towards the nose hooking style bait right there, like that, just because it doesn't quite overpower. It lets the bait swim a lot better. It lets it kind of fall nose first. Now, as far as hookup ratio, a lot of guys will argue with you and say that the threading or the straight shank style hook will hook fish and land fish better, and really there's no arguing that, because it is a much bigger, stronger hook. And you know, if a fish eats this bait, you got a much bigger gap, you got a much bigger hook that's going to hook those fish. But for me, I really love the small little drop shot hooks like this. I've caught so many big smallmouth on it, and really the only issue that you could have with this is when a fish comes up and eats this bait and he folds it over on itself, and then the hook kind of gets caught back on itself like that, which that's going to happen. You know, you're kind of playing that game with this technique, but I feel like you're going to get more bites, because this is going to look more natural down there. It's going to swim better. It's going to look different than your threaded style bait. So for, you know, the shad-shaped worm, which is what we're talking about here, the 3.75 inch shad-shaped worm, I'm leaning towards the nose hooking. It gives it a better action, doesn't overpower the bait, and I feel like I'm going to get more bites that would offset any fish that I might miss because that bait folds over on itself. Now, we kind of touched on it, situations I like to thread them. Obviously those bigger baits, you know, 5-inch shad-shaped worm. A lot of guys like throwing like the 5-inch Z2, like a bigger drop shot bait. That's when you want to thread it on there, because you need that bigger hook. You know, a nose hook on like a 5-inch bait is going to be such a small hook for that big giant shad profile that you probably miss some bites and only bite the half of it. So that's generally when I lead towards threading it on there. Other situations would be, you know, if I know it's a little late in the year for this, but if you were, say, fishing for spawning smallmouth that were, you know, they're gonna bite your bait regardless of what you put in there. So you're better off using a bigger hook that you can kind of put some more pressure on them. If you got to get them in the boat in a hurry or something like that, you know, you can use that bigger, stronger hook and really just kind of wrench them in the boat. But other than that, we kind of touched on it. I like going with the nose hook for pretty much all of my smallmouth needs. The only situation would be when I'm throwing that 5-inch shad-shaped worm, if they're really keyed in on bigger fish or bigger bait fish. So for me, this is the one I'm going with 99% of the time. I like the nose hook style drop shot for my smallmouth, and I use the TK 180, the straight shank style drop shot hook for all of my largemouth needs. But appreciate you guys tuning in. Just wanted to give you that quick little update. You know, this is a question I get asked a lot, and you know, actually, you know, got asked this at the last tournament. You know, guys always ask what hook do I need to use for the drop shot and everything. And like I said, it's very opinionated. If you ask 10 guys, you'll probably get 5 and 5. You know, it's very, very unique and very different based on everybody's opinion. But just wanted to bring you guys my little touch on that. Hopefully you guys learned something from this video. Appreciate you guys watching as always, and we'll see you guys next time.